The Doing the Orton podcast is brought to you by Vincent Ramos and SoCalProperties.net. Visit SoCalProperties.net for all your real estate needs. And by the Wrestling Guy store, where you can find the latest WWE Elite action figures.
Hi everyone, I'm Hannah, host of the Doing the Orton podcast, and I hope you enjoyed today's episode with my guest, Sean Waltman, also known as X-Pac. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of the Doing the Orton podcast. And today I have a very special guest with me. It is Sean Waltman, X-Pac.
Well, hi there. Thank you for having me on your show, Hannah.
Thank you for being on my show.
I met you in the Wrestling Guy store.
Yeah,
right?
I did, yeah.
Yeah.
So that was a good experience.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much for being a guest on my podcast today. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I just finished my show about, 15 or 20 minutes ago. Well, no, it's been a little longer now. But we had Rikishi on the show, and it was great. And we just talked about, a lot of the news stories that are going on in wrestling. But life is great. Every day is a good day, especially when you have little baby Lula with you.
So cute.
Yeah.
So how long have you had Lula?
It's what's the date today? It's almost exactly a year. It's the 25th today. I found her on April the 27th of last year.
Oh.
Yeah. And she goes with me everywhere. If you watch the WWE Network, they have from the Raw 25 special. They made a documentary and she's all over it. Yeah. There's her and Undertaker together. It's pretty cool.
She's doing like Undertaker tongue right now.
She has a broken jaw. That's why her tongue hangs. That's why her mouth hangs open like that. Yeah. That's why I kept her. And she has some special issues, but she's beautiful, isn't she?
She's very pretty. She's so cute.
Yeah.
I wish my dog would stay that small.
She sits like this, and when I go to the shows, like when I get on the airplane, she sits on my lap the whole time and barely makes a sound.
Okay, so let's get started with a little podcast here.
Let's do it.
How long have you been involved in wrestling?
Almost 30 years now.
30 years?
Yeah.
Wow.
I started when I was 15. Actually, you know what? I've been involved with wrestling even longer because when I was 10 years old, I helped set the ring up. I will go around to different towns and help them set the ring up just so I could get my foot in the door.
Okay, I'm sorry. So were you a fan of wrestling, like as a kid? You said growing up.
Yes, like I said, when I was 10, like when I started setting the ring up, that's right around the time I went to my first wrestling event, and I fell in love with wrestling right away. I knew I wanted to be a wrestler. That's all I've ever wanted to do.
Okay, so as a kid, who were you a fan of?
Have you ever heard of the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes? He was the main event. Dusty Rhodes versus Ric Flair was the main event of the first show I ever went to. So yeah, those guys. There was some other people like I looked up to. Like there was a wrestler named Billy Jack that I looked up to a lot that you might not have heard of, but he was really special at one time, and the people really loved him. And that, but it's what the really cool thing is like all the people that I looked up to, a lot of them I got to wrestle and work with later on. Yeah, it's really cool.
Okay, so
can you imagine like all growing up and just like having these heroes and people that are bigger than life, and all of a sudden now you're wrestling them and working next to them. It's just a dream come true. Yeah.
So you said that when you were smaller, you helped set up the ring.
Yeah.
So how did where did you first start training to be a wrestler?
In Tampa, Florida. I lived in Tampa and St. Petersburg, are across the bay from each other. There's Tampa Bay, and it's like 30 minutes to where I would go learn to wrestle. And there's a wrestler named Dean Malenko. And his father was called the Great Malenko, and he was my teacher. And Dean was my teacher as well. So, and they were really nice to me, and they taught me how to wrestle even though I didn't have any money. So I just worked it off. I would help set the rings up, make posters and flyers, and do anything I could to help, pay my way.
Okay, so how long did you train before you wrestled in your first match?
That's a good question. I want to say it was about between maybe about 4 months or so, 4 or 5 months.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, and it was just a real quick match I had with a guy in a little a little community center in Tampa, and his name was Caesar Vera, and that's who I started training with, and nobody's ever heard of him because he kind of dropped out of wrestling, but it was fun. It was really neat to actually have my first match in front of people
Okay,
instead
so
of doing it in my backyard.
yeah. Okay, so were there any like wrestlers that were maybe tough on you when you first started wrestling because you were a bit smaller than the rest?
Wow, that's a good question. Not when I was training, but like when I went out into the world, and had to go and wrestle on shows. You ran into a couple of older guys that would try things on you, and I hit back pretty hard, Hannah. So I didn't have many problems with that, even though I was skinny and really young. I did okay when it comes to bullies and wrestling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so was it a secret that you were going to pin Razor Ramon?
Yeah, it was a
it
big
was?
secret. Nobody in the
Wow.
locker room even knew it.
So how did they react when you actually pinned him and beat him?
They thought Razor Ramon, his real name's Scott Hall, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just kidding with you. I know you know that. So when we got back from the ring after I beat him, Godfather is?
Yeah.
Godfather asked him if he failed a drug test or something and he was in trouble. Yeah, that's a true story. They thought he was in trouble. They didn't understand that it was actually a good thing for him.
Oh, okay. So, how did you end up with the name the 1-2-3 Kid?
Oh, that's a good question. I hated that name.
Oh, you did that.
Yeah, I hated it, Hannah. Well, when I had my first match there, I was called the Lightning Kid originally. Did you know that?
I actually did.
Yeah, and so used to be when you go to WWE, they change your name so they can own it, and so it was one of those situations, and we tried out a few different names, and when they couldn't own that name, we would try another one, and so anyway, after I beat Razor, the people started chanting 1, 2, 3, right? And so I had to go to Japan after that, and while I was in Japan, somebody was reading Japanese wrestling magazine, and they said, "You're the 1, 2, 3 Kid," and I went, "What? What? That's your name now, 1, 2, 3 Kid." I'm like, "No, it's not." I was so mad. I hated it, Hannah.
Wow.
I thought it was so corny and so cheesy. Plus, it just kind of, I wanted a cool name. Like I thought Lightning Kid was pretty cool.
But
They didn't.
No. Okay, so has there been any local talents that have really impressed you? Like recently?
Around here?
Just any local in Southern
Yeah.
California?
Okay. Yeah, there are a few, but there's one guy I think is really good around here, and his name's Brody King. Do you know who that is?
Yeah.
You
He's
like him?
actually been on the podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. Was he good?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I like him. Yeah. So that's one guy. There's some guys that have been around a while that I'm fans of, Scorpio Sky, and guys like that. And so yeah, I like Brody King. He's really good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you have wrestled around the world. You said you were in Japan. Do you have a favorite venue to wrestle at?
Ooh. When I was in WWE, the best venue, like the one that had the hottest crowd, was Allstate Arena in Chicago.
Okay, so do you have a favorite feud that you have been a part of?
Ooh. Yes. Okay. I shouldn't even have had to think that much. I had a feud with Nature Boy Ric Flair that I'm honored to have been a part of. Yeah, and we really didn't like each other at the time, so it made it for really good television.
Okay, so since you were one of the only people to have been a member of the two biggest factions in the 90s, NWO?
Ever. Not just the
Ever.
90s,
the
Hannah.
90s.
Let's get this
Ever.
straight.
Okay, ever.
All right.
The NWO and DX.
Yeah.
Which one was more fun to be a part of?
Ooh, DX.
DX? Oh.
Yeah. And not that I didn't have fun in NWO, but there were certain things that put a damper on the fun there. And when I got to back to WWE and DX, we just did whatever we wanted. And, you know, we were all doing, like, everyone was doing well and everyone was pretty happy. And, you know, we were doing some things that might have been a little bit, you know, a little bit over the top. You know, it was all in fun. And, you know, for the most part, no one got hurt.
Okay, so, what has been some of your favorite wrestling experiences, like that, some experiences that you have wrestled?
I had a match with Bret the Hitman Hart when I was the 1, 2, 3 kid, and it was for the world title, and it was on Raw, and a lot of people think it's one of the best matches ever on Raw, and I'm not going to argue with them. There wasn't a feud though; it was just a
match?
Yeah, feuds. Huh. No, we weren't talking about. Are we already over the feud question? Sorry, I've been hitting the head a lot.
It's okay.
Go ahead. Sorry.
We're kind of getting to like the end of the podcast here.
Okay.
So, do you have any way people can follow you on your social medias?
Yeah, I have Twitter, and it's at @TheRealXPac, and there's some Instagram accounts. We have Real X-Pac. There's a fake Instagram account out there trying to hit people up for money under my name right now. I've just reported them, but I have Lula has an Instagram. It's at It's Baby Lula, ITS Baby Lula, and we have X-Pac 12360 show on Instagram, and I think that's it.
Oh, okay. So, like I said, we've reached the end of the podcast here. Thank
Really?
you.
That went quick.
Yeah, it's a pretty short one.
Wow. But which is good because there's a lot of podcasts out right now, Hannah, and we only have so many hours in the day, and it's really smart to have one that's not like an hour or 2 hours long. So
Yeah.
I'm really honored that you came in and had me on your show.
Oh, I'm honored that you were a guest on my show.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much for being a guest on my show.
I'm happy to have done it. Thank you so much, Hannah.
Thank you.